Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Flynn, and I'm here with
Scott Lang,
and we are the Band Dads. Here to bring you a podcast about something that we care very dearly about, which is music education and band.
Some of you are here because you want to learn about all things band. Some of you are here because you want to see a train wreck, and the answer is yes to both of those. We don't care why you're here. We're going to answer all the questions. We're going to say the things you're thinking. We're going to debunk all the myths.
Yep. This is the Band Dads Podcast.
The podcast by and for confused band parents.
Oh, is that the tagline? Some of it actually, believe it or not, actually makes sense. Like it's logical. Does that? I know you probably wouldn't see it that way, but so for example, the one that you will hear kids using is Riz. Have you heard Riz yet?
I use that all the time. It makes my kids cringe.
Okay, it does, right? But I'll give Riz credit because Riz is actually like a legitimate derivative.
Charisma.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'll give the kids credit.
But it's in a physically attractive way, is what I was told, which is why I'm not allowed to use Riz, the term.
No, they would call you chopped.
What's that?
Yeah, you can find out on your own.
No, come on. Between you, just the listeners won't pay attention. What's chopped?
You don't Riz people that are chopped.
You can Riz someone. It's a verb. It's an adverb.
It's used as it is. That's one of the contexts that it's used in. Yeah.
Okay, what's chopped? I think our listeners need to know this.
If you basically chopped is a way to call somebody unattractive, to call them fugly. That's what chopped means. Anyway,
honey, open the door. Listeners, this is going to be interesting. Am I chopped? Do I have Riz? Am I chopped? For the listeners, apparently I'm chopped.
And I'm not talking about his height. Anyway, it's my rim shot.
Chris, I got a question for you.
Shoot.
Have you ever been the member of a cult?
Not that I'm aware of.
Wouldn't you think you'd be aware of it?
I don't actually know. You know what? I will say no. I will say that most cult members may not be aware that they're in an actual cult.
That's a fair question because you are in one.
I am?
You're in the cult of the Bamboo.
Did you do some I was going to say, did you do some research on me that I'm not aware of?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 7.
Episode 7.
And before we start today's content, which is Band Parents Cult or Comedy Show, we have a little piece of information to share with you.
We do. So we've talked a lot about the fantastic reception for the podcast. We've been, very thankful and grateful and all of those things. So we are here to officially announce that.
Wait, don't say another word. Should we make them earn it? Maybe in order to actually make it real, someone should have to post on our board and ask us.
You said don't say another word, so I don't know. Am I allowed?
Is that all it took? I would have done it a lot sooner if I knew this.
Wow. It wouldn't be much of a podcast then, would it, huh?
All me.
I was going to say, you've probably had plenty of opportunity to record yourself talking to yourself at this point. And
I listen back to it at night.
Yeah. He's not joking. He's laughing because, he's uncomfortable about how true that statement is.
Tell him what the big announcement is, Chris.
We are officially going to have a season 2 of the Band Dads podcast. Now, that said, be prepared maybe for a little break in between some episodes here, right? Because we're at the point where we're kind of wrapping up the recordings for the first season of the Band Dads podcast, which we promised how many episodes?
We promised 8 episodes, and we're actually going to bonus them with a 9th episode, which is going to tease season 2 at the end of season 1. And as Chris said, we are going to take a little bit of a break, not for us, because we live for this stuff. We have nothing else to do with our lives. We're sad, pathetic people. But
speak for yourself, sir.
No, I think I can speak for both of us.
Oh, wow.
But we know that you need a break. So from June 1 all the way through the middle of July, we're going to take a break from releasing recordings. But during that period, we're actually going to be recording.
Yes.
So that when you come back for Band Camp, we've come back with Band Camp episode part of season 2.
Yeah, I have some really cool ideas too. We'll have to kind of get some approval to kind of get some behind the scenes access to some things. But I definitely would like to do some really cool stuff around Bandcamp because that itself is its own experience. It's its own beast.
I love that you're able to use the term Bandcamp and really cool in the same sentence and keep a straight face.
I mean, because it's what I'm going to do with Bandcamp. That's why. Huh? That's right.
Who's the arrogant person now?
I never said
Who's listening to recordings of themselves? Whose recording equipment is this, Chris? I'll bet you make recordings of yourself and listen to it. So we started the episode with the question, have you ever been a part of a cult? And Chris, your answer was?
Not that I'm aware of.
But isn't that what a band parent group is? Now, understand this. The word cult is short for the word culture. Culture is defined by Webster's Dictionary as a common set of accepted practices.
Memorized the definition of culture for this episode?
I don't have a lot of friends, Chris.
That's really impressive.
The definition for the word culture is a common set of accepted practices, values, and beliefs by a given group of people in a time and place. Do you feel like, and by the way, you're going to do one of those rip back, go back, roll back, step back things right here.
Okay.
We need a disclaimer. When we're talking about band parents and band boosters, we are not talking about our son's band boosters. Correct, Chris?
I mean, if we're saying nice things about them, we're talking about them because they are fantastic people. They are our peers. And
the hardest working people I've ever met.
To death?
Yes,
absolutely.
No question. But when we talk about some of the different stereotypes and some of the problems with band booster groups, and there are problems with band booster groups, and they're pretty universal across all booster groups, we don't want anyone to feel like we're taking shots at them. It's not a person, it's a personality trait. Because a common set of accepted practices, values, and beliefs by a given group of people in a time and place, those common sets of practices, values, and beliefs, loving kids, loving the activity, wanting to support them, they're universal. Yeah. Whether you're a band parent in Alaska or whether you're a band parent in Florida, whether you're a band parent in Japan, which is where we have listeners, or Dubai, which we have more listeners.
Yeah.
It's a universal common theme. But the other thing I want to share with you is the better the cult, the better the band.
Okay.
The better the common set of accepted practice, values, and beliefs by a given group of people, the better the band.
How many times are you going to say the definition of this episode? I want to know.
Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah,
now you've thrown down the gauntlet.
I'll have a little counter. Yeah.
Now you've thrown down the gauntlet.
A little counter, yeah. I'm curious now.
The better the common set of accepted practice, values, and beliefs by a given group of people, time, place, the better the band. Nailed it.
Yeah, you did. All right.
Okay, so
in that definition, then, because I think that's because when you think of the word cult, that is not what you think of.
You're absolutely correct, but
so
it is what it is.
Using that definition, because if I was to Google right now characteristics of a cult,
you would get some really interesting returns.
It's not going to be anything that you just said.
No, you're going to have to clear that cache before anyone else uses that computer.
So again, that's the disclaimer. We are using the definition that Scott will say many, many times in this episode to say cult. Because again, generally, we're not trying to use a negative connotation.
Common set of accepted practices, values, and beliefs by a given group of people in a time or place.
Now that said, maybe this is kind of early on, but I would tell you that I think one of the reasons why it is seen that way as well, or maybe even with a negative connotation sometimes, we talked about last episode when we talked about band directors. We talked about a lack of self-awareness.
Yes.
That same kind of thing exists within a booster organization, to be honest.
Probably, but I think even if they were aware, they wouldn't care.
Okay, well, you're not wrong, actually. You're not wrong.
I mean, if you don't get it, yellow shirts with a big bear head on it.
Too bad, so sad. I guess where I'm going with that is, this leans back to something that we talked about early on. Now, I was willing to assert myself in a role in the boosters because I just love the activity so much, right?
Okay,
but there are a lot of parents who are intimidated by the fact.
Yes.
Intimidated by the fact that they don't understand well enough what the activity is or have a history. So, for example, we again, within our own organization, which are people that we love and respect very, very much, we have a lot.
The organization of the common set of accepted practices, values, and beliefs by giving group people in a time and place.
That's the one.
2 all beef patties, special sauce, sausage, elements on a pickle seed bun.
I think you missed something. You said it was
pickle seed bun.
Yeah. So, but you can see it even within our own boosters. There's a lot of legacy band people that come from a band background.
Yes.
Those people understand very much what it takes to help operate a booster system because they come from the system itself.
But let's be clear, that is 100% absolutely true.
Yeah.
But it's also tribalism. It's territorialism.
Okay.
So and let's define the tribes and the territories, and I don't mean that in a homage to Native Americans.
Yeah,
but it is.
I feel like there's some real thin ice here.
I know, and that's why I had to. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I went.
Let's be very.
So, but there is some territorialism in that. Okay, I'll give you an example. I want to be around the kids. That is my thing. Like, you give me any job that's around kids, I am in.
Okay.
And to our own band's credit, first week, Feed the Bears, filled up. It was 10 seconds. Before I even got to the Slack channel, it was the first 4 games were filled.
Okay, that's fair, yeah.
And I quickly learned, there's a group of people
that's already established
that do Feed the Bears.
Yeah.
And I got to get in with those people.
That's fair.
And so I called them. They said, well, if it's filled up, just show up anyway. I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Okay.
There's a group of people that load the truck.
Yes.
And they take incredible pride in that. When I changed jobs for my last 4 years of teaching, I'll never forget, I wanted to be a team player and I'm the band director, but I want to help everyone. I went out to help load the truck. I got accosted by the band dads.
I was going to say, you probably got, you probably screwed it up.
And it wasn't like, no, you don't need to be doing this. It was, son, I don't know where you think you went to school or what you think you're doing, but this ain't Tetris. So why don't you go back in that cushy office, sit your baton waving arm down while the real men load this truck. I don't know why I did that accent.
I was going to say, are we still in Arizona with that accent?
Really know.
Was this in Tempe East?
At least I didn't do Australian like I did the last episode.
You could try.
But the point is, and I really mean that, like, and now having gone to San Antonio and seen semis, I mean, there are guys, like when a really nice semi pulls up and the hydraulics start to lower the gate, you see how the band dads jaws drop, and they're not looking at a pretty girl, they're looking at a pretty tailgate of a different kind. And they take incredible pride in the way they load that truck, the way they unload it, and the way they provide for those kids.
Okay.
Like, no, your job is to perform. Let us take care of this. And the uniform mom, last night they're talking about, I'm bringing a sewing kit. I'm bringing Clorox. I'm bringing detergent. I'm bringing to go to Dayton. And I'm thinking, I forgot to wash my own clothes. But she takes incredible pride.
Is that what that smell is?
Sorry. No, that's something different.
Oh, boy. Anyway.
So there's some tribalism there.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't want help or you're not good enough. It's, this is my identity.
Okay. That's fair.
Like, I take pride.
This is entertaining. What other tribes are there? I'm
this
enjoying
is going to sound stupid. I take pride in the fact, and if you're a band parent listening, this is actual true story. And I take pride in the fact I break the rules to make kids laugh. So 2 scoops, 5 chicken nuggets, 1 scoop of rice, 1 scoop of mashed potatoes. That's Bash a Bear. That's the way we feed the kids. We don't deviate.
Okay.
We don't run out of food. They're walking by and I'd be like, what are you playing? They'd be like, saxophone. I'm like, only 1 nugget for you. Keep moving. What do you play? Trombone. I want to make kids laugh. I want to be around kids, and that is my space. And I get there, and I'm going to admit it, I get to feed the Bear Band and feed the Bash a Bear Regiment a half hour early to make sure I get the food tray in the Feed the Bear Regiment.
Pretty ruthless.
And I swear to if you try and take that from me, I will throw elbows. I will
sounds like a challenge. I want somebody to step up this fall. I want somebody to start doing band camp. I want somebody to challenge Scott.
The thing is, it's how I serve. And I take pride in that service because that service brings me joy.
Gotcha.
And I'm not trying to edge out a freshman parent. I'm not trying to push a senior parent out the door. I'm trying to find my place where I can serve and I can do something that others can't. I can't load the truck. I can't build a prop. I can't direct the band, but I can scoop some mashed potatoes and make some kids smile.
That's fair.
So
that's a good point.
And I share that because one of the common sentiments you'll get in every band booster group across this country is, well, they're not very welcoming. And maybe there's an element of truth to that, but it's not that they don't want your help.
Right. It's not intentional.
It's that they take pride in the way they do it.
That's fair.
And it's territorialism.
Yeah, I would agree. And to your point, I think that when I started my involvement in the band and I got more involved, But
you picked up a place there was no one
that's
had
fair.
That territory.
Okay, that's fair.
You picked up a much needed open space and filled it extraordinarily well.
Okay.
So there's no pushback for you.
I guess that's true.
Here's the question.
That's true.
Mr.
Actually.
Flynn.
Yeah.
Now be honest.
Okay.
Band camp start next year.
Yeah.
And a really competent, qualified dad shows up with some really nice video and audio gear.
I'm going to be triggered. Yeah. I'll be like,
At least
no,
you're
wait,
honest.
Scott, you want me to be honest?
I do. I want you to be honest. Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't have to be a parent. A sibling, a teenager could show up with equipment as good as mine and take pictures. And I'd be like, this territory's taken good. We're good. We don't need your help.
Okay, see, band parents, if you're listening, this is why it's not always a welcoming environment. It's because this brings us joy, and we don't want our joy stealing. And this is how we show love and serve.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I was going to share, because this is a common thread we get, is to a new band parent is be patient, be willing to serve, but look for a place and a space that you are unique to and fills you with joy.
Well, and I guess even if, what I would say is, even if I didn't have that spot to fill per se, I was still willing to engage regardless, because I just cared a lot for, to your point, my daughter, and the respect for the activity that she was in. And I think either way. So I wasn't going to let myself be intimidated. How long
did it take before you knew you were in the cult? Well, how long did you sit back and watch? How long did it take you to warm up to the activity? Because you came to it with zero experience, basically, correct?
Marching band experience.
High school marching band, correct. Yes. Okay, so correct. You came to
zero.
And parents,
yes.
New parents, you're going to go to the very first meeting, and you literally will hear the band director talk, and you will think to yourself, he's out of his ever-loving mind.
Wait, our band director, they're going to think that about him? Is that what you're saying?
Well, parents, I'd like to show you the rehearsal schedule for the next 6 months. I'd like to talk to you about your level of commitment. I'm going to talk to you about the band. You're going to have that moment. And if you're not from the cult, you're going to go, this man's out of his ever-loving mind.
Maybe that's what we should just say first. Maybe we should just reassure new parents. It's okay.
I did.
It will be. I don't know.
At the opening parent meeting, it took me 10 years. I would say, how many of you are returning band parents? Excellent, good. How many of you are new? And hands would go up and I go, I promise you we're not as crazy as you think we are right now.
Yeah.
And I promise you, in 8 weeks after the first football game in competition, you will be a part of the cult as well.
Yeah.
So just step back.
Yeah. No, I mean, on this podcast right now, we should just reassure parents maybe who are going into the activity. It might look rough on paper, but it will be okay. It will work out.
And it is rough in real life.
Well, that's okay. That's true. I don't want to diminish the fact that it is actually difficult.
Now, keep in mind, if you're a listener and you are in a marching band in San Diego, it's not as rough for you as it is in Phoenix, Arizona in July. But to that point, do you remember at what point you went, oh, this is kind of cool? Because I came to the activity already knowing that when I had kids. When I was a band dad, I knew how cool it was. You didn't. Do you remember the moment?
So, no, I mean, I can tell you where they got me. It was...
where?
I think I've decided to... I think I had, seen the sign-up lists go out over and over again, and there were openings that still had not been filled for a home show last fall, which would have been the middle of October-ish? Maybe late October?
Yeah, mid to late October.
Okay. So, just trying to be a good person at that point, I was like, well, it seems like they really need
You're trying real hard to be that person?
Yeah. Trying.
You're getting there?
Yeah. It's work every day, Every day I put my feet on the ground when I wake up. Anyway, no. So I volunteered to help out, and again, I got probably the worst job possible. I was on the gate for the entrance and exit for the band.
No, that's my favorite job. That's the job I did this year.
Gotcha.
Why is that my favorite job, Chris?
Because you interact with the kids, which
bingo.
Yeah,
hey, great job. First show, best show. High five. That's my jam.
Maybe because of your time in the classroom, you have a little more comfortability approaching strange children.
Well, the judge said I shouldn't, but I do.
Okay, gotcha.
Stranger danger.
Because I'm like, I'm not sure they are comfortable. They don't know me, that kind of thing. Anyway, but yeah, no, I did this. I did the gate at the home show. At some point I felt this burning in the back of my head. I passed out. I woke up and that's it. I was in the cult. It was over.
And did you get the requisite tattoo?
I don't know. Did I?
You haven't seen it? When you shave your head, you'll find out.
Oh, I'm actually going to the barber.
Okay, but there's a perfect example of finding the place and space that brings you joy and you serve a unique need. So in the previous episode, no, it was in the quick questions, you said to me, how do you calm a kid down before a really important audition? That's how you do it.
Yeah.
High five. You look great, man. You sound freaking amazing. This is going to be your best show ever. High five. You engage the kids.
Gotcha.
And that, so a job that I think is the best job in the whole event is what you think is the worst job in the whole event.
Gotcha.
You got to find...
Well, I felt like it was at the time.
Right. But no, I get it. You got to find your place in space.
Yeah. So as far as the actual role that I do now, which is media stuff, honestly, I mean, I was trying to film some stuff here and there, but it actually was probably a little bit later in the year. It was probably... we decided to film... the band, the
migration of grasshoppers.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the U of A band day. The AZMBA did last year. I think that was early November, wasn't it?
It typically is, yeah. Typically
November?
Late October, early.
And Basha got first place in that competition. And, we had a video of it, and then I videoed the awards, and I put this cool little compilation together, and I was like, this is rewarding. Not only do I enjoy this because I've always enjoyed digital media and kind of digital creativity for, decades, but I had already started to enjoy the process of marching band, and then going, wow, I can share this. I can spread my love for this with this thing that I feel like I enjoy as well. I can put those two things together. And to your point, looking around, I felt like that was an opportunity. I felt like there was maybe a gap in the way that, the publicity, I guess, for a high school marching band was being shared. So I reached out to our band booster president and I said, hey man, how about I just help you out with this? And needless to say, they were not hesitant to say, please take this off my plate.
If you're a band parent and you have a love of finance, then be the band treasurer.
Yeah,
The thing is, you can't make you'll never find joy if you're doing the job that needs to be filled. You're going to find joy if you're doing the job that you want to fill.
That's fair.
And so if you came to me and said, Scott, we really think you'd be an excellent band treasurer, I would say, no, thank you. And if you said, Scott, we think you'd be excellent truck loading. No, thank you. Okay. Scott, we think you'd be really great at a job that involves being around kids. I'm in.
Okay, so with that said, you mentioned maybe some of the tribes, right? So let's talk about some of those roles. What are some of those roles that exist within in the cult?
So let's, first of all, every role is a service role to kids. It's not a power grab for you. That's a really good point. It's not about your ego.
Yep.
It's not about your kid being the drum major. It's about what's good for all kids.
Very good point.
So when you sign up for that. Now, the second thing I want to say, and I will tell you the first time I said that, it offended my band booster president. It was my last job. When she said, I work for the band boosters. And I said, no, you work for me.
Okay.
Because I am the band.
Yeah.
And she came back to me a week later and she said, I got to tell you, when you said that, I bristled. But I thought about it all week. And you're right, because you are making the decisions for what's best for kids. And my job is to support that vision.
Okay.
So if you're a booster, the name boost is in the name.
Oh.
You are
break it down.
There is never a point in which you should be tearing down another parent, another student, or that band director. Boost is in the name.
Wow, that's a really good point, Scott.
Number two, whether you like it or not, the band director is the leader of that program, and you have to support that vision.
Yeah.
Even if you think it's misguided, and we talked about finding a band director whisperer.
That's a really good point.
But even if you think it's misguided, that it's their vision. And the third is, we're all teachers, instructors, and parents in the room are there to serve kids.
Yeah.
That's our job. And if
keep those things in perspective.
Yeah, and if we aren't there for kids, then you probably shouldn't be there.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Because do politics exist within band boosters, Scott? Is that what you're saying?
Are there adults in the room?
Yeah, I know.
Then there's politics in the room.
No, you're not wrong.
Are there power struggles in the room?
Yeah.
Are there adults in the room?
It's silly. You're right.
It is. But the thing is, you're talking about people who have no other commonality other than the fact they're kids in this activity.
Okay, so and that to some extent escalates those things, meaning that it becomes that much more involved and passionate because it does involve their kid. Like, what do you care more about in this world than
Nothing.
your child?
Nothing.
And then once you fall for the band and the things they do, you become passionate about that. So there's a lot of emotion and passion behind it. And I think that's probably where it gets
But what's also really cool is if you step back and really look, you recognize that not only do you love your kid, but there's 48 other adults in the room who love your kid too.
Yeah.
I mean, I know any one of those people in the band booster meeting last night would do what it took to protect Evan, feed, clothe him, or care for him if they knew he was in trouble.
Absolutely.
There's no question.
No, I'd agree with
and
that.
What a cool thing that is.
That's true.
We can disagree on politics, but we can both love kids. We can disagree. We can come from different languages, different countries, different religions, different political affiliations, but we can all agree that we're here for kids and we're here for band.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, no, most definitely. So that's, again, in that way, the cult is a good thing. It's a positive.
So you can remember the day when you kind of woke up and went, okay, I think I like this. This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So now let's fast forward, Chris.
Okay.
When's your last kid going to graduate?
If my stepson
graduates high school, I know that's a big concern.
You just insulted a child.
He's a drummer.
He doesn't have to be. Okay, he still has time to evolve. No, so
he didn't even fight with me on that. Comments have accepted practice values and beliefs by giving group people a time and place.
well, because then I'm saying good things about drummers, which is just gonna, inflate your ego, and I gotta do everything I can to avoid that, right? So, so it would be, sorry again, doing the math. 2030, 2031?
Have you had a kid graduate yet?
No.
Okay. So now when we talk about that territorialism, would you say being the Basha Bear Regiment social media video person is a part of your identity?
Yeah, these days it is. Yeah. These days it is.
What do you do when you have to give up your identity?
I guess I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. I have no idea. I haven't thought about it.
I think if you're an incoming freshman parent, that's part of the factoring in that you have to have. Not only is it's they take pride in this job, there's some tribalism in this job because it's how I serve.
That's true.
But I got 4 years to have this. I get 4 years to have this moment with my kid.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm a senior band parent, and I wore my senior band t-shirt, and I'm here to support my senior band kid, and your kid's been in this activity for 12 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
And you're taking my job.
I gotcha. Yeah.
So I do think there's also a sense of finality to it.
At that point, yeah.
Because if you're in the upper ranks of serving the band booster group, you may have some younger kids, but if you're in the upper ranks of a band booster officer, your kid, you've already had a kid graduate, or you got a kid near graduating.
But I think what you're saying is relatable across more than just band boosters. Like if I've been in my role for 4 years, professionally, and somebody who just gets hired on comes in and tries to tell us how to do things a different way,
100%,
just shows up one day, I'm going to be defensive.
Absolutely, but now add your kid to the next.
Then it becomes
Then it becomes really more personal. Than just like, well, listen, you're a crappy boss, and you're going to come up with a new way that's going to change in 20 minutes. It's you want to change things, and it's my last 20 minutes.
Yeah,
that would be someone walking in and making those changes the day of your retirement celebration, and you're like, can you just not wait?
Poor Danny Glover, right? He was just about to retire. No, anybody? No. Anyway,
no.
No. Lethal Weapon?
I know Danny Glover and Lethal Weapon.
That was the whole gag. Right, he was just about to retire, and then all this stuff keeps happening.
I just remember the nail gun where he just shot the guy in the head with the nail gun.
Yeah.
That was before Mel Gibson went crazy.
Oh, I don't. Again, we're going down paths we don't want to go down on this podcast. Anyway, what were we talking about?
We were talking about the fact that
so to your
sense of finality.
Okay, so to your point, yes, I will be. So just speaking about my role in particular, it will be very delicate for me, and I will feel like I will almost have to mentor somebody to try and take over the responsibility.
Is it for them, or is it to give you an exit strategy, a long, slow rollout?
It's both, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's both.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Yeah, it's both.
So being a band parent, what was the thing you struggled with the most, or maybe still struggle with? Is it with kids? Is it with adults? Is it with not our director? Because you work with other directors and other organizations and social media. Okay.
I have, yes.
What has been the thing you've struggled with the most?
I guess, well, geez. I don't know. I guess in what I do, so for what I do, I like to create some sort of consistent outcome or product. Like I have a certain expectation or level of what I produce, right? So
this podcast has been a real struggle for you. a constant set of quality for
if Australia flies us out, it's all going to be worth it. But no,
you're throwing shade against the other 8 countries that are listening to us.
I would say, I would say that. So I would say that, really sometimes slowing down and realizing, again, the level of responsibility that a band director has in terms of maybe there are times or there are things that maybe I wish that I could get better answers on or clarity on or something in that way. Just, I guess, overall communication sometimes. Because I feel like maybe I have questions that are unanswered and they don't ever get answered, which I'm fine taking that initiative on my own sometimes. But, and especially between different band directors, they have different personalities and different different goals and, different focuses and all those things. So I guess for creating digital content, for creating media, it's been tough to not be able to have like a consistency, I guess, amongst that clientele to just say, this is what I want. This is the vision. And I would think from somebody who, does all these grand things and puts out these productions and gets their students to perform and achieve these things, I guess my assumption up front was I feel like maybe somebody in that position would have a better vision for this is what I want it to look like. Can you present my band in this way? This is how it should look. But that doesn't really exist.
No, it doesn't, because that's not an area where band directors are skilled. And keep in mind, a band director doesn't write the drill, right?
That's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
They provide guidance and someone takes care of that. A band director doesn't write the music. Fair point?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nope, they provide guidance. A band director doesn't tech the drum line. They provide guidance. They don't teach basics. They provide guidance.
Sure.
So band directors, when you think about it, are really skilled managers.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean they always know the end product or how to get there.
Right.
We hire brass specialists because I'm not a brass player.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We hire a marching tech because
All good
I'm not a
points.
great marcher anymore.
Sure.
So we bring on great media people like Chris Flynn because we don't know how to get. We know up here we kind of want it to be. We want a really great social media program, Chris.
Yeah.
How do we get there? I don't really know. I just know I want one.
Sure. No, absolutely. And, and really what that led to was me kind of molding what that looked like on my own. Right. And I would get, feedback from time to time from either other band parents, the director sometimes, just saying, oh, that was cool. I liked what we did there, and just maybe some affirmation after the fact. But I wasn't sure that, because it is not my organization, it was almost out of respect to the band director that I had hesitancy doing that in the first place, because it's not my organization, right? Like, I have enough respect for you as a band director to say, this, I don't want to step on your toes. Like, I don't want to misrepresent you. I don't want to put out something on a channel that represents you in a way that you aren't okay with. Like, I have enough respect for you to be careful in that way. So I think that was my hesitation.
So I think that's a point worth taking. And it just, we work with such great parents, and I've not witnessed this in my own child's school, but I witnessed it as a band director, that I would never walk up to a parent who is a dry cleaner and tell them how to run their business.
Yeah.
I would never walk up to someone who runs an automobile repair center and tell them how to repair automobiles.
Sure.
You'd be amazed at the number of people who have an opinion how I should be a band director.
Yeah.
You'd be stunned at the number of people.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And
I've
so
seen it.
I want parents to go back to the previous episode and listen to the level of preparation that is spent and the amount of hours and the years of mastery to get to year 7 to where you know what you're doing and run all the components, financial, communications,
Sure.
Creative, artistic, integrity, instructional, and realize that whatever thoughts or ideas you may have, they may be valid, but you also have to concede that they might not be.
Gotcha.
And I always used to share with my parents, I'm a trained professional just like you are. And I come from a place where I'm trying to do what's best for your child. But I would never walk into your business and tell you how to do it. So before you walk into mine, just make sure you've really thought through what that is, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's your point. That was my concern. I didn't want to be that person.
No, and you said it, and I've never witnessed it in our own kids' band. Everybody is there for our director because he's such an incredible human being.
Yes.
But that is something that, you have to think about, because if I always say to my son, always assume the person you're dealing with is smarter than you. And my example, we were driving down the street and he's like, this turning lane is stupid. And I go, really?
It's stupid.
So the 485 people that wrote to the city manager then turned to the civil engineer. The civil engineer studied it, decided that it was in fact correct, sent it over to traffic analytics, who did an analytics study with it, realized it was correct, then sent it out to a construction company for bid. 7 construction companies bid on it and decided this was the right way to build it. They came out, they actually built it before the final check was caught. It was inspected by civil engineers. It met code and compliance, and you, the 17-year-old child, have decided it's stupid.
Yeah, it's a dumb, Dad. Yeah.
And I always try and tell them, you just don't know what you don't know.
That's absolutely, yeah.
And
naivety is a lot of it.
That's the thing, I think, when it comes to being a band director, is always assume there's a reason for everything, even though there might not be.
Right.
And you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Which, again, but I think that what you're saying also, in terms of the naivety and you don't know what you don't know, is another reason why, again, breaking into the cult is scary sometimes for band parents who do not come from a band background, who do not understand it as well. So that just might be a reminder as well to, again, the band boosters and those people that maybe have more experience to, again, just when you see somebody that's new, maybe nurture them a little bit. Just give them a little bit of, a little bit of your experience and expertise as well to welcome them and so they understand that it is something that you want them to be a part of, because it's not that those people don't want those people around, but it is scary for them.
Okay, so let's go over the characteristics of a cult. Cults wear the same garb oftentimes. Do you often wear a Bash of Band garb?
I do.
Do you have multiple sets of Bash of Band garb?
I have a few, actually, yeah.
And do you wear them to Bash events?
I do.
Okay, good.
I do.
Cults often have a vernacular or a language or a vocabulary that they use to communicate in short, effective ways. Do you understand what drill is? Do you know what choreography is? Do you know what the term body movement is?
So I do, but that's because I've been around enough at this point.
Okay.
That's kind of the point. And that's kind of the point of this podcast, is to help more people understand those things. So, but I do, because I've spent the time investing in it.
Cults often, I can't believe I'm going to say this, bow down to a larger than life figure, someone who holds court and commands a presence. Would you say you could see band directors, not ours, of course, this is hypothetical, you could see that same presence, that I say, everyone does, I command, you do environment inside the activity?
You know, it's funny. I actually know a guy who used to be a band director who described himself as a tyrant at one point. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Okay. Have you ever, let me put it this way. I walked out just at the last concert. My wife said, "Oh, you're going to wear that? You're not going to dress up?" Before we went to our invitational, she said, You're not wearing your Bash of Bear t-shirt? You're not. I got chastised for not following the norms of the activity, which is often true of cults. Have you ever felt out of place or felt included because you did or didn't exhibit a behavior that was accepted by the group?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Most
Cults often meet in specific places of worship or whatever, gatherings, or at specific ritualistic times.
Yeah.
Like Friday night at sunset near grass areas.
Yeah.
Is what I'm describing to you sound a little bit like a marching band?
Yes.
Does it sound a little bit like a cult?
Those two things seem to align as you are describing them currently. Yes.
The better the cult, the better the band, the better the band, the better the cult. Because it's a better understanding of the common set of expectations, values, beliefs, and practices by a given group of people in a time or place. Now, those don't need to make sense to other people. Your family rules don't make sense to my family.
Yeah.
You know, your family's dinner rituals don't make sense to my family, but they make sense to that family.
Okay.
And that's the last thing, I would share, is that being a part of a cult is very personal and individual. The cult of Perry High School, 2 miles from us, is not the cult of the Basha High School band.
Right.
It's not better, it's not worse, but I can tell you it's different. My older son went to a different school in our district.
Which the director at Perry's fantastic as well, by the way.
Absolutely. He's a
Benjamin fantastic guy.
Benjamin Sampayan.
Just going to say that. We don't want anybody to get the wrong idea
Benjamin,
here.
if you're listening, which you're not, because
Fantastic
we only
guy.
have 3 listeners and my golden retrievers.
Maybe Ben's listening.
It could be. Yeah. That my older son's experience was very different, and my booster experience was very different at that school. Not better, not worse, just different.
Gotcha.
That there's no one right way to be a booster group.
Okay.
You find your own pathway, you find your own role, you find your own space, you find your own way to serve, and you find your own way to find joy. But the last thing I would share is find that place.
Yeah.
Because your kid is going to graduate. Don't do it for your kid, and don't do it for the band. Do it for you.
That's a very true statement. Absolutely. And I think it's hard to understand until you are sworn in and you follow the ritual that gets you into the cult. But once you're in, you'll understand what Scott's talking about. It's very, very, very real. But,
and can I tell you,
yeah,
I'm a band guy, right? It took me 2 or 3 months to find my place in the Band Boosters.
That's fair.
And even knowing how it works, I'm like, these people have all this stuff figured out. What do I have to offer?
Yeah.
And I didn't know it would be scooping rice and mashed potatoes and making fun of the nuggets.
But thank God we found a place for you, you know?
I think it was just to get me out of the way.
Thank God we found a place for you, Scully. Jeez.
Wait, is that because it's good to have me, or just thank God you found a place to stick me?
however you feel best interpreting that, I'm okay with, honestly.
So
but
I just share that because, like, if you're feeling that way as a band parent, I know what I'm doing, and I felt that way for 8 weeks.
yeah. No, so I think it's funny. So just on a relatable note, I would say that before, Scott and I started doing this podcast, and ultimately we've already told the story of kind of how it all came about. I would say Scott and I were fairly similar. I know I had a certain role, but I'm fairly low key. I don't really talk a lot in the meetings out. You know what I mean? I'm not very outspoken unless I'm called upon, and I share my little thoughts or whatever. But you seem to be like me in that way, where you just kind of sit back and listen and kind of assess the situation, which I think is a smart way to go about it, because it does allow you to, I guess, figure out that place.
But the thing is, I'm not that person. And anybody who would met me, I get paid to talk for a living.
That's fair.
But I did that out of respect for my director.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Because
that's what I'm saying.
That is Miles's band.
Yes.
And I'm there to serve Miles.
And it doesn't
and
always...
those kids.
And I'm sure people have been to meetings where it doesn't always feel that way. But that's the way it needs to be. So just we're all the same
page. Say that again.
It doesn't always feel that way sometimes in those meetings, but ultimately that is what we all need to realize, is that we are there to support the director who runs the program. That's our purpose.
I get paid to run all over the country and talk to band directors, but when I go to Basha High School, I'm the guy who serves rice and mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
And I'm happy being that guy.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you a question then. So what's the latter part of this? Meaning that, the title of this episode is the comedy show. What makes you laugh about Booster, Scott? Where's the comedy show part come in, huh?
Oh my God. I mean, you're talking about people who are building props out of duct tape and baling wire, serving food that they hawked from some guy to give them for free on the corner, shepherding 130 people dressed up with a dead pigeon on their head over to a place where they're making imaginary pictures on a grass field. How can you not laugh at the
It's kind of ridiculous.
of this
It's kind of ridiculous, huh?
If you had to explain this to someone, because for those who don't know, marching band is a uniquely American activity.
Yeah.
There is a growing presence in Japan, but it has nothing to do with the school system. Europe embraces music, but not as a part of their public schools, and it's uniquely performed at football games, which is a uniquely American activity.
Thing, yeah.
That's why I seriously wanted to know why the people in Australia were listening to our adjudication rubric, because they don't do marching band. They have common sense.
I would like to know that as well.
So
Australia, tell us. Let us know.
How does someone from Australia reach out and tell us? Or how does a band parent who has a question reach out and ask that question? And we do answer not every question. We answer every question.
We answer every question.
Every question, but we also answer some on the Tuesday teas. So if you have a question you specifically would like to have answered on the Tuesday teas, reach out to us. Tell us how they do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, seriously, if you're ever listening to any episode and have a thought or a question or be like, I wonder what they meant by that, or you want some clarification, please send us an email, which is feedback@banddadspodcast.com. To Scott's point, we do address every email that we get. Sometimes we address it twice. Sometimes Scott and myself both give you our own individual answers, so you get both perspectives sometimes.
One guy reached out, and what I said on the podcast about the adjudication rubric didn't make sense to him about what was actually on the rubric, and the way I phrased it, he was correct in my mistake.
Yeah.
And I just reached back and said, oh, I'm so glad you caught that. Here's what I was trying to say that I didn't say very eloquently.
Right. Yes. So certainly reach out to us. Send us an email, feedback@banddadspodcast.com. We will address your question. We will give you the answers or affirmation that you need. If it invokes an apology to entire city or community, we will ensure that happens for you as well. We do answer those questions via email, but we do try and include them in our Band Dads mailbag, which is these bonus episodes that we give you guys on that way you're getting weekly content. So again, if you haven't tuned into those are much shorter, but they are a lot of fun. We do actually answer really cool questions, and we have fun in those shorter episodes as well. Plus you get a little teaser for what's coming in the episode the following week. All of the resources for what you need to do to get a hold of us is on our website, banddadspodcast.com. Every episode that we have has a link in it that says send us a text. If you can click on that from any platform that you're listening, it's going to open up the messaging app on your phone. You can send us a text message, which comes directly to us on our website, gives us the feedback, which we love to see. It identifies where you're from in the country, which feels really cool because we love to see the message being spread across the country about the podcast. We're on social media. We do some special features exclusive for social media that we don't do on the podcast. So you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and get full video episodes of what we're doing. I'm not sure if there's anything else I'm not thinking of right now.
Edit this into the front part of the episode for me. Okay, Chris?
Okay.
I'm saying at the end, but I also want to put it in the front, is if you're a band booster and you're listening to this, the release date for this episode is slated for early to mid-May. Mm-hmm. listen to this episode from the ear of being a booster, and then send this to every parent in your organization and say, this is the one required thing I want you to hear before you start next year. Because I think it will help a lot of veteran parents better understand what the new parents are feeling as they come in.
Yeah.
And a lot of the new parents understand why the veteran parents are so territorial about that, because they take pride and they love it and it brings them joy, and because that's how they spend time with their kid. So share this with every band parent and make this required listening, and they can skip the other 7 episodes. But if they listen to one episode, and who can do that? We're so delightful.
I was going to say, I'm not editing that in. I'm cutting out what you just said. I need them to listen to all 8 episodes.
But if you only listen to one episode on the Band Dads podcast, I can tell you now, as we tape episode 7 at the close, this is the most important episode that we've done to date.
And there you go. And as one of those parents who was on the outside looking in, that decided to step in, and like probably every band booster parent out there will tell you that they do not regret making that choice. It is the best choice that they have made. You enjoy the ride much, much more. You only get it once. You only get it for 4 years. You got to do it. Something you got to do.
100%.
Absolutely.
He's Chris Flynn. I'm Scott Lang, and we're the
Band Dads. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next week.
That's our most important episode to date.
To stay up to date with the Band Dads podcast, visit our website, banddadspodcast.com. Want to communicate with the Band Dads? Send an email to feedback@banddadspodcast.com. The Band Dads podcast is a 5 Deuce Media production. For more information, visit 5deucemedia.com. That's numeral 5deucemedia.com. For more information on Scott Lang leadership and solutions for music education, visit scottlang.net.